Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to talk about Gamma World. We grabbed the 4th edition one, but this is going to be a general Gamma World conversation. I'll probably lean toward 4th because that's what we both play. This is my special guest today, all the way from across the hall, my son Adam. We just decided to take a few minutes and we're going to have a general, quick discussion on why we love Gamma World. What is it about Gamma World that makes it so darn much fun to play and makes everybody laugh so hard? So that's today's topic. So Adam, you want to start it off?
Yeah, my favorite part about Gamma World, or one of, is just the setting in general, because as you can see from the map here, it's a post-apocalyptic, this is, the Midwest, and it's just really fun to have all the mutants and the monsters and all the lethal things that just can kill your party quite quickly.
Don't forget hoops.
Hoops.
They turn metal into rubber.
Yeah.
I love hoops.
Sleeves too.
Yeah. They're some of my favorite monsters. I'm sorry, creatures. They can't be monsters.
Yeah, they're all mutants in this game.
So we were going to narrow the focus a little bit and talk about the character groups you can play.
Yeah,
I guess we'll call them groups.
The 4 food groups.
Yeah, I don't use, in 4th edition, there is a section on player character classes. You can actually have your player characters be in a class. It's Scout and Technomancer.
Basically a fighter, Technomancer and an Esper.
And yeah. And as you can see, I don't use those because I don't like character classes in my Gamma World.
I used to use them when I was running in college, but I haven't used them in a while.
When I started out in D&D, of course we player character classes. I picked up Gamma World very shortly after I started playing D&D. And one of the things I liked is that there were no character classes. You were just your type. The other thing I like about Gamma World, and this is going to fly in the face of what I've always said about D&D, is there are no alignments in Gamma World. I actually like that. Alignments, in my opinion, I've done a video on this about 2 years ago, alignments, in my opinion, saved D&D, at least for me. I was ready to quit D&D. We had so many people at the last minute, whenever there was good treasure, they would betray somebody who was already injured from a heavy fight. They'd betray them just to swipe the gold. It killed so many games that I started hating it in D&D. Conversely, I love it in Gamma World because, frankly, if you're stupid enough to kill off members of your party in Gamma World, you deserve what Gamma Terra is going to do to you.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about the characters you can play and then a little bit about the lack of alignments, I guess. We'll just narrow to that today. Okay. We're hoping to do a few of these. I don't know if this will be a series, if it's just going to be something we do. Adam happens to be around today, so we just happen to be available, both of us, to do it. So basically, the first one I want to talk about is going to be the Pure Strain Human.
Yeah.
Pure Strain Human. Oh, yeah, that's us. Except our Pure Strain Humans, these are our processors? Our progeny?
Yeah.
These are the people
that are far off descendants.
Yes, generations down the line. And they have better medicine before the fall of Gamma Terra. And that created Pure Strain Humans that are really, really resistant to disease and radiation. And you get more hit points.
You get more hit points. You get bonuses to a lot of your stats, perception stuff. Robots or living metals are able to recognize you better. Yep. They're the only... No, they start with negative modifiers. Everything starts with negative modifiers for robot recognition. They start with the least negative modifiers.
Yeah, they're the least bad. So Pure Strain Humans, but you get no mutations of any kind. In fact, can never gain mutations of any kind. And anything that in the game that would mutate a mutated human or animal or plant actually damages a Pure Strain Human.
Yeah.
But Pure Strain Humans have the best interaction with old artifacts and the most hit points in the game.
Yes.
Okay? So that's my cause for playing a Pure Strain Human. Yeah. I have played all classes. I've never played a plant. We'll get to that.
I've played a plant. But, Pure Strain Humans are pretty white bread, in my opinion.
Yes.
There's not a ton to them. You go, oh, cool, I've got all these hit points, and I can do nothing cool like set a room on fire.
It's exactly like starting as a fighter in D&D.
Yeah, it's the human fighter of D&D.
It's all you can do is what you start out being able to do. And in Gamma World, there's not a ton of progression for your character, stat-wise or anything else. I've put in some stuff here and there.
Character classes help with that.
They do, but you can actually do it without character classes and just form up a level system, and then every time they go up a level, give them an extra die 6 or die 8, and let them add that to their hit points. And that's what I've actually done.
Yeah, they get that Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
We did that back in 1st and 2nd edition.
In 4th edition, everybody gets a d6 of hit points, and then the fighter class, whatever it is, also gets their comm bonus, but they're the only ones.
And quick disclaimer, too, if I seem rusty on my Gamma World 4th rules, I haven't run it in about a year.
I haven't run it in 2?
Yeah. So we're
a little bit rusty,
but that's not the point of today's video. This isn't a rules video.
We'll do more reading between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was literally made up. The decision to do this was made up half an hour ago.
Yeah.
On a ride back from someplace.
So for all you folks who are gonna rules lawyer us, we don't remember them.
not off the top of our heads. This is just something we had an opportunity to do. We chose to do.
Yeah.
So now the second one, the one I played most commonly, Mutated Humans.
Yeah.
Love Mutated Humans. They're exactly what they sound like. In the early 80s, when we were playing Gamma World, not this one, this from the early 90s, in the early 80s playing Gamma World, the X-Men were massively popular. We adapted some of the X-Men characteristics to our game. We had optic blasts, we had retracting claws, we had people who could turn their skin to steel.
A lot of those are actually mutations in this book.
But we kicked them up to almost superheroic levels.
Yeah.
And Mutated Humans are just fun. You can end up with a lot of really good mutations. You can end up with bad mutations.
Yeah, defects they're called.
Defects, yes. Quick thing on defects. I generally will not saddle anybody with more than one. We used to play exactly by the book, and what we had was characters who were ready to just commit seppuku rather than continue to play this very flawed character.
Yeah, if I saddle a character with a defect, it tops out at 1 usually, and I very often give my player another beneficial mutation to compensate.
I don't do that, but I make sure that they're viable other than the one defect.
Yeah.
I try to keep the defect kind of nominal.
Yeah.
But the
defect can be fun, though.
It can be. It can add a ton to role-playing, which is why I like them.
Yeah.
There have been campaigns where I've just said no defects. We're just going to play some Gamma World, so you can do that too. So pure strain humans, definitely. You got physical mutations, mental mutations.
Altered humans. You said pure strain.
I'm sorry, not pure strain humans. Altered humans or mutated humans. You get mental and physical mutations, so many of each. And that can be a ton of fun. You can end up with some really fun combinations. We had a teleporting mutant a la Nightcrawler who also could turn the skin to steel.
That's really strong.
He liked to pop in and punch people in the back of the head.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Okay, so now the third one, Mutated Animals.
Mutated Animals are a lot of fun.
These can be a blast. So much role-playing can go into the creation and then the execution, not game death, I'm talking execution of the role-playing of a mutated animal.
My one friend had a mutated cat whereby purely his mutations that he rolled all of them. He ended up with basically Kintaro from Mortal Kombat 2. He was like 8 feet tall. He had 4 arms and super strength.
Oh.
And he was an unstoppable fighter. He fought with like two battle axes. And like anything in melee range of him would die immediately.
And that's the nice thing about Gamma World, because melee range isn't where you're always fighting.
Yeah.
Very often you're using weapons.
Guns are very strong. Another one of my players had another mutated cat with telescopic eyes and night vision, just because of the way it went. So he was an insanely good sniper. He could kill anything at range. And a lot of the players, especially newer players, will gravitate toward mutated animals.
Yep.
And there is a thing where your player can opt not to be able to speak and not have thumbs. They need to give up both. They need to walk. They can't be bipedal. They can't speak, and they can't have thumbs, but they get an extra mutation. That is usually death to the character.
I had a player who insisted on playing a mutated snake. No limbs of any kind. He moved in snake fashion wherever they went, and he could speak, but only in very type stuff. He grew to hate that character within about 3 games.
It's very difficult to play, and in my opinion, not very fun, because it's a pain on the player, the rest of the party, and most importantly, the GM.
Yep. What is fun to play are mutated bears.
Yes.
They're a blast. Mutated lions, any kind of mutated large feline.
Yeah.
Any kind of mutated wolf or large
Mutated
dog is a lot of fun. I had one guy who insisted on playing a domesticated dog who was mutated.
That's fun.
It was fun until he realized he couldn't use any of the weapons.
Yeah.
He had thumbs, but his paws, his hands were too small.
Yeah.
And I tried to really work with him and accommodate him, and he still grew too frustrated with the character. See, I got to be careful with that in Gamma World too.
Another one of my friends played a mutated peacock mantis shrimp. That's not in the book, but so peacock mantis shrimps, if for those who don't know, they punch their prey, and they're not very big, but they punch their prey so hard that it creates light and heat. It's roughly the equivalent of a 22 caliber bullet. So I said, okay, this guy's like 8 feet tall, and he's armored, so his armor class was insane. And when he'd punch it, it'd do the same damage as a 50 cal sniper rifle.
There you go.
It was a lot of fun because he was a living siege engine.
That's the other thing that's good about, especially in my opinion, 4th edition. These rules are very well thought out and very rounded, but you can still add a ton of stuff that you want. You can add weapons that you want. You can add sea urchins.
Mantis shrimps. A lot
shrimps.
Is open to GM's discretion and the players, and just working together to have as much fun as possible.
And it's not going to break the game.
No.
That's the other thing with Gamma World. I've played Gamma World in campaigns where we've done a cohesive campaign lasting 2 and 3 years. Gamma World's fine for that. It's a lot of fun. It's even more fun if you just kind of let your hair down and just go to Gamma Terra with some weapons and go deal with the local think tank or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's, in my opinion, the purest way to play Gamma World is just play it for laughs. And I don't mean silly. I've done serious stories where they were saving this area and people were starving, so they had to do this. Famine in Fargo is one where you have to save your tribe from starving. And I've done those, but you can work in so much humor in this.
Yeah.
With different mutants and mutations that it can turn out to be a blast.
Yeah, this book describes 2 play styles basically of just like a normal style and what is, quote, wild and wahoo.
Yep.
So whenever I'd run a campaign or individual games or whatever, everything would be wild and wahoo. For those who have played Fallout, I always described it as playing with the Wild Wasteland perk on, which makes weird things happen all the time. So the characters are a little bit more over the top. Weird things happen.
Oh, Fallout came straight from this.
Oh, yeah. It's just a lot of fun to do weird things to and with your players. And just have them find a car and not know how to drive it.
Or get in a flip car and not realize that it's pre-programmed, or I'm sorry, it's a bubble car, not realize that it's pre-programmed to take them to the moon. I had given them all kinds of warnings. 4 of them piled in. They hit go, the car sealed, went straight up to the moon. They said, oh, this will be cool. I said, well, there's one problem. It doesn't have fuel to get to the moon. It was a trap I had set in there, and I made it obvious that they probably didn't want to get in this thing, and they still insisted on getting in it. And they died somewhere just short of orbit, and then probably re-entry is actually what got them.
Yeah.
Also, Gamma Terra's moon. Dragon did a couple of articles years ago on that. I have had players up on the moon. It is a great place to play.
That sounds fun.
And of course, this all came from Starship Warden, from Metamorphosis Alpha, the original, the progenitor to Gamma World. And that's what you can do on the moon, because there's a lot of plants and things on the moon that are mutated. It's really cool. And then, nice segue, the last of the character groupings you can play are mutated plants. I have never played a mutated plant. I have GM'd a ton of mutated plants.
Yeah, I've played a mutated plant. They're interesting because they have a lot of resistances to a lot of stuff, including healing. So they're harder to hurt than a lot of things, but they're also harder to heal. So that's definitely one thing your player needs to keep in mind, is that you need Scott's lawn fertilizer to heal yourself very often, instead of, a med kit.
We had a guy who had to carry around a pot of soil.
Yeah.
And root himself in the soil and change it out as he ate up the nutrients. And then he could heal in that.
Yeah. So mutations that definitely help sentient plants are healing when you can just sit still for a while.
Yeah.
Because you don't
in
eat
sunlight.
In sunlight, you don't eat the same way because you need sunlight, unless you are a carnivorous plant, which there are rules for.
Yep.
But even then, still hard to feed you because you're a carnivorous plant and they still photosynthesize.
Yes. And one of the most interesting interactions I had with somebody playing a mutated plant is I had another player who was playing a mutated buffalo, who always was hungry. Whenever he was around a mutated plant, he wanted to eat him. That was a lot of fun, the role-playing, the dynamic between those two, because both players ran with that idea. That dynamic was a ton of fun and added a bunch to the game. Whenever there was any kind of food shortage, the buffalo was eyeing the mutated plant.
That's funny.
That was really good. But that's really it.
That's about it.
I have allowed one guy, one time to play Living Metal. I let him play an android, a robot. I know a robot and android are completely different, but I let him play an android. He really wanted to. This was not too long after Data came out in Star Trek Next Gen, so this would be the late '80s. He really wanted to play Android, and he wanted to play it in Gamma World, so I let him. The problem is exactly what the problem is with Data in Star Trek Next Gen. Unless you find ways to write around Data's abilities kind of dominate every scene. That was the problem with a Living Metal player character.
Yeah, Living Metals in Gamma World are very, very strong.
Yeah.
Even basic ones can be quite a tough fight.
He had a lot of hit points. He was hard to damage. He couldn't feel emotions and stuff, but that didn't really come in that much. Even though he role played that aspect, the other players weren't really that interested in teaching him to be a real boy. They just wanted to play Gamma World.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of role playing to be had, but I don't recommend letting anybody play a robot or an android in Gamma World. I think I did it, and this experience talking, it was a mistake.
Yeah.
It kind of dominated my thing. The other thing is there's a Dragon article that has a 5-headed mutated rattlesnake. Don't lead with one of those. You'll have a TPK in the first 15 minutes. Again, I know wherever I speak.
Remarkably
we did the whole dream sequence thing,
Yeah.
and everybody got to just start over, and everybody was mad at me for the first half hour. But that's really it. That's some of the love we have for Gamma World.
One more shout out. Trifants are very fun. They're elephants with three trunks, and they're venomous. So they hit you, and it's like a contact poison. So you get hit. It does a ton of damage because you're getting hit by a freight train, and also you're taking poison damage. They're very fun, but also very lethal.
One other thing I did try once, I let somebody take a mutated animal, monster, if you will.
Yeah, because they're predefined races, basically.
He played a hoop. Hoops can turn metal to rubber at will, any volume, whenever they want. I had to put limits. I think I made it so much volume 3 times a day. And even at that, it was way too powerful of a character. This was a guy that kind of was very transient in our campaign. He'd play, and then he'd vanish for a month, and then he'd come back, and he'd play, and he'd back. So I let him try it, because I knew he wouldn't be around much. And it would have been very disruptive had I allowed that to go forward.
Yeah.
So that's another little tip. Don't allow the monster classes to become player characters. But I think that's all I've got to say on the topic of why Gamma World is so much fun.
All I got. Very good overview of just why we enjoy the game.
Yep. I introduced Adam to Gamma World when you were 6.
Something like that.
Yeah. Both my sons play Gamma World very early. It's one of the freewheeling kind of things. It can teach you good role playing, but you can have a lot of fun anyway. Yeah, you've been playing it for a long, long time now.
Yeah, I ran it in high school and in college. It was favorite in both, just because everybody got to go crazy.
And I've been playing various iterations of Gamma World for 40 years. This is the version I have settled on and I like the most. This came out in the early 90s. I took a look at this and a couple of the supplements for this already on the channel. So just look around, you'll find it.
Yeah.
But Gamma World, a lot of fun, very fun game. If you're not laughing so hard your sides hurt, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
All right, that's all we got for today on page 121. Anything else to add?
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Thanks for watching, and please remember the Patreon. Take a look at that. Subscribe if you can. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah.
It's still going to be in fits and starts, but I am glad to be back. But that's all for today on page 121. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.